Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Stange, and today I will talk about the southern border crisis that is happening currently at our United States-Mexican border. Many would say that this argument is Republican or Democrat argument, but I feel as though that this is a national crisis that affects all of our American people. All of this, of course, is happening under President Biden's administration, and it all needs to come to an end. The Biden policy now allows border agents to release the families and unaccompanied minors into the United States after 72 hours of holding. Now that migrants know this information about the new border policies, it is now causing them to send their children to the border for easy access into the United States. And many of these children do not survive the long journey. With that said, traffickers are now posing as these children's parents to get into our country with no issue. Heather Robinson writes a very interesting article discussing the issues with President Biden's new border policy. She writes, Michael Gramley, a border control agent, saw traffickers providing children to unrelated adults so that they can more easily gain entry into the United States. One of the traffickers came up to him and said, "You don't have a kid? I will provide you a kid," he said to Michael. When the adults reach their destination in the U.S., they return the child back to the traffickers, who then send the child back to Guatemala and repeat that exact cycle. And those are just the lucky ones. He said many of the children eventually end up being forced to work in the U.S. sex industry, or even in prostitution and child pornography. All of these issues are, of course, related to the Biden administration and their new policies. Debbie Lesko, a journalist for the MSN, discusses this issue in depth by saying, "There's a crisis at our southern border, and President Biden's administration policies are responsible. Biden has halted the border wall construction, released illegal immigrations into our communities, and promised amnesty for millions more. These are disastrous policies that have continued to the surge in illegal immigration, the spread of COVID-19, and the humanitarian crisis at the border. On day one, Biden halted construction of the U.S.-Mexican border wall, despite proof that walls work. The walls funnel migrants toward points of entry where the United States Customs and Border Protection agents can more easily stop illegal immigrants, as well as human and drug traffickers. Walls are an essential part of securing our border, but Biden and Democrats refuse to admit it. They prioritize political rhetoric over realistic results." I completely agree with what she wrote. Democrats need to open their eyes and realize that Biden is creating chaos on our country. Fox News even reported that 18,890 unaccompanied minors have entered our country this March. And most of these children are a part of cartels and were captured by the traffickers. And then another Fox News journalist, John Street, discusses how Biden isn't doing enough to address the current border situation. I also agree with this. Biden and all of his people need to see that we need to secure our border. Congressman Andy Briggs writes an article talking about the issues of our current border situation due to Joe Biden. The system is upside down. If most of these people showed up at a port of entry as legal visitors of the United States do, they would have been turned away because there's no provision in the law to admit them. This is just all nonsense and needs to be taken care of. I feel as though the Trump border wall was our best bet. It forces all of the immigrants to enter through a port of entry. I also feel as though DNA testing needs to happen before the migrants can enter. This is because many of the families entering aren't actually related. The children are being used as bait to enter the country and are in the trafficking cycle. I also think that COVID tests need to be done too. Many of these migrants are bringing the virus into our country, causing our cases to spike. People just need to realize that the surge of illegal immigrants is not necessarily benefiting our country. The Biden administration is letting this crisis happen by literally pretending that it isn't happening. We need people to realize that many communities surrounding the borders, and even ones that aren't, are being affected by this too. President Biden and Vice President Harris haven't even come up with a plan. This is an issue that needs to be prioritized and at the top of all the news headlines. However, it isn't. Biden and Kamala obviously think that there are more important things to show. This issue needs to be broadcasted so that everyone is aware of this crisis. Everyone wants to come to our country because we have it so good. However, if Biden keeps doing what he is doing, all of our freedoms could be taken and our beautiful traditional country could be ruined. Thank you.